Hi, I'm Ryan Wright.
And I'm James Franco.
And I'm Rachel.
Welcome to Reasons to See,
where we give you reasons to see.
and not to see.
Oz, the great and powerful.
So let's hang out.
After being thrust into the magical world of Oz, con man and carnival magician Oscar Diggs has to help the people of Oz fulfill the prophecy and vanquish the Wicked Witch, and in the process, become not an asshole and become the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Ryan's consensus. There are some reasons to see Oz the Great and the Powerful. There are some reasons to see Oz the Great and the Powerful. Yeah, it's not a great film. It's not a bad film. It's a decent family movie.
James Franco's consensus. Yeah, I think there are a lot of reasons to see Oz the Great and Powerful. There are a lot of reasons to see Oz the Great and Powerful. Yeah, I mean, I get all the complaints, but for me, I got lost in the magic, and I had a really great time. So, while it's not a perfect film, I really enjoyed it.
Rachel's consensus. There are a few reasons to see Oz the Great and Powerful. There are a few reasons to see Oz the Great and Powerful. Overall, it's kinda silly, but, it's good enough for the whole family to see together. So I think that makes it okay.
Reason to see number 1, James Franco. I like James Franco, he always gets me, even if he's just doing an okay job, because I thought he did an okay job in this film, but he's really fun to watch. He had a lot of moments where he actually had me cracking up, and so I really enjoyed him a lot in this movie.
James Franco is an actor who, it's hard to kind of lose him in a role, and actually here, especially in a period piece, I eventually did buy him. So I enjoyed watching him. He has the biggest smile I've ever seen. Like, there's one scene in this movie where he literally does smile like this big, and it's...
Well, I thought that he pulled off the whole con man thing pretty well. You kind of have to wonder, was he a con man at some point in his life?
He seemed to really just be having a very fun time while he was on set, and just really seemed to, be enjoying himself.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was really slimy, but it was a good slimy that worked with the movie.
So you seem to really like his con artist stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, it's good that, he progressed, but I like the slimy.
Well, the thing is, too, I thought he was very natural with the balance between being a jerk and being, caring and sort of learning his lessons throughout this movie, because he's good at being a jerk, but he's not so much of a jerk that by the end you're like, why? Yeah,
he's a dick, but he's a charming dick.
Yeah, and you do see him care genuinely for certain characters during certain situations, where I believe the transition coming from him.
Sympathetic to his plight.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because, it's like he thinks he's not a good guy, but everyone can see he's really good on the inside.
Yeah.
And, but it's charming, though. It's likable.
Reason to see number 2. The monkey.
This monkey was probably my favorite thing about the film. Yeah, even more than James Franco. It's Zach Braff,
Yeah.
I love Scrubs, and I've been wondering where the guy's been since Garden State, and it's cool to see him return as a monkey,
Well, yeah, and I mean, he is in human form for a couple minutes, and, he's really good in both roles.
One thing I want to say about the monkey is that usually with animated sort of CGI characters, in order to make something really, expressive and emotive, they make their eyes about the size of half their face.
Yeah.
You take a, Gollum or Puss in Boots from Shrek, they've got these very exaggerated eyes, but with the monkey, it's a normal, all the proportions are exactly the way a monkey looks, but somehow it just, they don't really need to, cheat, I guess, with exaggerating any features, because the monkey is adorable. That just works anyway.
That is the key word for the monkey in the film. He's just adorable.
I just want to give him a hug.
Yeah, you wish he was real so you could hang out with it. And speaking of which, James Franco and the monkey have great chemistry together. Yeah, the way they play off each other was very fun to watch.
Reasons to see number 3: visual effects. You guys like visual effects?
I like visual effects.
There's so many.
This movie. It's weird because one can't help but compare it to The Wizard of Oz at times, because The Wizard of Oz was not hell-bent on visual effects. This film is mainly visual effects.
No, I disagree. I think that they were very much about visual effects, but you know, they
I'm
were
talking in
from.
terms of CGI and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Well, they couldn't do that.
They
There
didn't
was
even
no
invented yet.
But that's what made Wizard of Oz such a delight to watch, was
Yeah.
like the fact of how at that time period they managed to build such a grand production design for a film that, you know, couldn't provide stuff like CGI.
I can see why having so much CGI everywhere and so much little detail and stuff like that can make the experience kind of hollow. For me, though, especially the way the movie juxtaposes the beginning, which is in black and white and it's set in the real world, with Oz, I did get lost in the wonder of what they created for the world. So I liked the visual effects for the most part. I thought they did a good job there.
Did you get lost in it? The wonder? Because I didn't get lost in the wonder. I admired the visual effects, but
Yeah.
it didn't pull me in enough to get me lost in the wonder.
I think, you know, I'm 22, and so by the time, I can't, you know, and I think just like considering the environment I personally grew up in, where, you know, my dad does a lot of this stuff, I can't really be involved in that, you know.
Your dad did the opening credits for this movie, didn't he?
That's true.
Yeah, all right.
Badass.
Yeah.
Badass. I like those credits.
Yeah, that took a year to do. A bunch of other people, including my dad. I don't want to be like, my dad's the only fucking guy who fucking... but, you know, my dad was definitely one of the main people who did it. But I can definitely, like, see that it's beautiful. You know,
That's what I mean.
I can see that, you know, they obviously put a lot of time and effort and it'll work, you know, for people. So I'm like, yeah, totally. So, you know, it was pretty.
That's what I mean. It's admirable, but it doesn't, like, engross me in the world. Reason to see number 4. Cinematography. Yeah, like we were saying about the visual effects, it just looks, everything looks really good, and the lighting of it, especially the framing of it, you know, it was cool how they started off with the black and white and 4:3.
Yeah.
And then it goes into, just like how they did with the original, then when it goes into color, you watch it expand. It's cool to see that in the theaters too. Did you guys see it in 3D?
No.
you know, this is, every time I choose not to go to a 3D movie, it's always the one I should have gone to. Because watching the movie, I was like, this probably looks pretty cool in 3D, and everyone I've heard has been like, the 3D is awesome.
As I saw it in 3D, and I gotta tell you, like, especially since we're talking about the cinematography, the 3D is surprisingly really good. Like, there were some moments where you're like, that is really coming at me right now. Well, it's kind of cool of how it's like black and white in the beginning, because similar to the Wizard of Oz when it was black and white in the beginning, you know, she wants more, and then she gets thrust into the land of Oz, and then, you know, that's when it becomes her life is full of color. And same thing with this guy. You know, I liked how they did that with Oz, how it's a similar situation. His life is sort of black and white at this moment, and then, you know, when he gets put in the land of Oz, that's when his life becomes a whole color of palettes.
I really like the little Sam Raimi touches. Like the you know, when creepy things start to happen, like the like drastic
booms,
movement, the booms and the Dutch angles and the like chaos, you know, I really enjoyed
Whenever there was the Raimi flair, that's when I thought the film was at its best.
Reason to see number 5. The score.
I always like Danny Elfman's scores.
I do too.
He has a high score.
He has a high
He has a high score.
Yeah.
He's got a good track record.
There you go.
I like his score, and it's cool here because it's Danny Elfman without being like Danny Elfman, you know, like, because especially some of the more Burton-y things are like like, you know, like really Danny Elfman-ish, and this one it's signature, but it's a little more out there, and there's a lot of cool carnival instruments he uses.
It blends into the world better than stands out as like loud Danny Elfman music, which often happens in Tim Burton movies. Because it's so in your like
it's part
ear.
of the package, you know?
But the music blends really well into this world.
Yeah, because it's not Danny Elfman like super crate like fucking
Dragonfly.
Yeah. It's like it fits like the realm of, it's not like I like Danny Elfman okay, but like sometimes he just gets like, you know. But I thought that in this movie it fit with the rest of.
I felt like someone gave him some guidance.
Yeah.
On how to actually do the music in this one. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, so let's move on to the split decisions now.
Split decision number 1. Mila Kunis.
Did not like Mila Kunis in this film.
Mila Kunis.
Did not like Mila Kunis in this movie.
I liked her.
Did not. We're on the same.
Yes.
Didn't.
Yeah.
No.
All right, I'm gonna make my own little Jerry Island over here, and I'm gonna mount the offensive. You know.
You can't be in our club.
I thought she was very bland. You know, that's probably in terms of the writing, but Didn't really see the chemistry between her and James Franco. Mila Kunis is a good actress. I thought she gave a very half-assed job in this film.
I thought she committed. I mean, her performance makes sense to me because it is in a sort of a PG realm, like in a more family environment, but because she's a little bit wide-eyed and a little like, oh, you know, mystical, but I liked what she did, and I thought she committed to it. She didn't look bored to me or anything.
I was bored of her performance, and I didn't care about her character at all.
I did care about her character. I will say they could have given her more conflict and more depth at certain points, especially later on in the movie, but I thought she did a fine job.
Yeah, I'm a little bit I think that in the beginning it was like kind of really awkward to watch them together, and I was a little bit like, oh boy, freaking Psycho, you know? Like, you know, but I thought that like in that aspect I think it was supposed to be kind of awkward. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is supposed to be a little weird to stomach. But then, you know, when you realize that she's the witch, I couldn't buy that she was the witch. You know, she was just too like she just wasn't a witch to me. You know, she was just, you know, pretty and
yeah, she's not.
Do it, you know?
I didn't find her very believable as the person they first introduced her as, and they established right away that she's a witch. And then when you explore her witch aspects, it's not believable to me. There are scenes where she's required to be emotional, and it just seemed like a whiny teenager.
She just doesn't. She's not like really a witchy sort of character. Is the thing. Like, I just don't think she can do it because she's not like
introduced as not being.
That's true, but like she's supposed to become the witch, and I don't think she ever like really.
Yeah, they hint at dark sides within her, and you don't really feel that.
Yeah, you just kind of feel like she was.
I feel like she has a little bit of a whiny girl temper, but not the darkness that they hint at in her. Split decision number 2, Rachel Weisz. I can't really talk too much about why I didn't like her performance because I don't want to give too much away, but I felt like the direction on her was, I can't give it away, but it was like, here's this one note we want you to be, just be that one note.
I get what you're saying, like they do give her one note to play with, but at the same time, I didn't think she took it and was like, this is the one note! Ah! You know, like, I thought she at least made it believable to me, like it was at least, there was some subtlety to it, you know.
I didn't buy it. I just thought it was a corny performance. I know it's a family film, but you know, you can make a good family film with believable performances and believable characters. Maybe the writing was one note, but she could have brought more depth to it. You gotta understand, like, Mila Kunis, great actress. Rachel Weisz, great actress. And I'm watching this epic film for a prequel that's very anticipated, and it's like, how come these great actors did not bring enough depth to these performances?
All right, I'm gonna leave your clubhouse. I'm in this clubhouse.
Yeah.
When it comes to Rachel Weisz.
Sure. Let's hear it.
Well, I think that, it is a one-note to play character. It's kind of hard. There's kind of a spoiler. I'm not going to say any spoilers, but I'm just going to say that she's got a motivation, but it's just like, her character is that all the time. And I think that...
do you mean that in terms of the actual book, or are you talking in terms of this movie?
I'm talking about it in terms of this. Like,
okay.
She has to play it that way. There's not really a whole lot of other ways to do it, and I mean, I think that a lot of the faults you're looking at is actually more of a fault in the writing than in like the way she's acting, because there's not really a whole lot of ways you can play that character without playing that character.
I disagree. I think that the performance was typical. It's like we've seen that type of performance from a billion other actors before.
I mean, we only check in on her so often. Like, she doesn't get the lion's share of the screen time. Like, we check in on her when she's doing that thing she's working on, it's like, and that's what we see. So, I mean, I thought she was subtle enough.
But it was never interesting to me. That was the thing. I never found it interesting. It was typical.
I found her
It was a typical performance. I thought all 3 witches were very underwritten, so none of the actors, even Michelle Williams, all of them were underwritten, so you couldn't provide any depth for any of them. And granted, with Rachel Weisz, she's the least of all the witches that needs the depth. I will give you that. She's because of her character. But still, like, all 3 witches were just like one note throughout.
Split decision number 3. Writing and directing.
My biggest issue with this film was I found all the characters to be pretty two-dimensional. Like, all one note. James Franco had the most layers, but even his character has an arc that we want to see him go through. But by the time he reached that arc, it was like, he still seems kind of like the same guy with a little bit more to him, but he doesn't evolve because this film's called Oz the Great and the Powerful. That's a pretty bold title, and the film is not great and it's not powerful. And I'm not saying it has to be that, but I wouldn't even consider this film really good.
Well, first of all, they're not saying the film is great and powerful. They're saying Oz is great
But
and powerful.
Oz is not great and powerful.
But we went there, and it was beautiful.
The land of Oz is beautiful, but I'm talking about the character Oz.
Oh shoot, the character. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like I said earlier, like the witches I found to be very much underwritten. You don't really get to know anyone in the land of Oz, so you don't really care too much about these people. And James Franco's motivation to help out these people was like, I know it's kind of funny that it's all pretty much bent on greed, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, it starts off with greed, but you know where it's going to go, where he eventually wants to do it for the people. But that's like an first hour of the film where he's gone on this adventure, but there's no real sense of danger or threat because I don't really care about any of these people.
I did. I mean, the other thing too is that you're kind of put into a corner because in the original Wizard of Oz, the whole thing is they pull back the curtain and he's not that great, you know. And so I feel like they held true to that idea where he does become great, but in a way where he's still largely who he is. And so I couldn't knock it for that. Like, I thought it worked, especially in that universe, you know, with what we know about the Wizard of Oz and stuff like that, since it is a prequel.
But there's still no real sense of danger or any real threat. It never got me excited. It never got my heart pumping. I was never like, oh my god, this is thrilling. It was just, I was calm throughout, like very calm.
One of the things I liked about the writing, I guess, I'm not sure if this like qualifies as, but you know, it was kind of neat. To like watch the movie and see all the little tie-ins that they did with
that was
the
cool.
1930, you know, because they did build a lot of it up, and you did kind of see like, oh, this is how, you know, it ended up like this way in the 1930s movie. This is how that ended up like that, and you know, there's a lot of little things like that, and there's little throwbacks to the book, you know, like the China Girl, and there's little maps and stuff that are all in the books, and so I was just like, oh, this is book stuff. I like the books, but that's you know, that's kind of all I want to give it, because the first hour of the film is really kind of slow.
Yeah,
and they don't actually build up to like where they want to go until, you know, a lot later than they really should.
The thing about the writing in this movie is that, yeah, like, I do agree that certain things could have been treated with more depth, but if you think about the original Wizard of Oz, who do we get to know? We get to know Dorothy, the Lion, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and sort of the Witch. So, I mean, it's the same. They have run-ins with the characters from Oz. You know, you run into the Munchkins, you run into these various people, but it's about the main characters in the land of Oz. So I'm not hyper upset that the Tinkers and the Munchkins and the Palace Guards and stuff, like, all those characters weren't fleshed. You know, like I said, I think that the Mila Kunis character could have used some more fleshing, and they could have gone to town more so with James Franco, but I thought they fleshed what they needed to. It's not a fantastic script, but I mean, it's...
Here's my problem. It's a fantasy adventure that they talk about scary witches, and there's a big threat at hand that this witch is gonna fuck up Oz. But you know what?
I thought that's what
I never felt worried. I never felt concerned for anybody. I never felt that there was danger at all. And
man, one of the guys was tied up like this, and she was gonna die because she didn't have her.
Yeah, look, there's a good finale. There's a really good finale in this film. That's the only time where I thought it was really thrilling, was the finale. But there's like 2 hours before the finale that moves at a weird pace, and there's nothing intense about it, and there's nothing thrilling about it.
I disagree.
It's not, so I mean, it's fun at times, but I was bored sometimes.
I never got bored.
Oh, I did. I felt like they invested way more into visual effects than they did into actual storytelling.
They do, but there's still storytelling. Like, there's still a story going on. It's not as complex as it could be, no. But
I don't like watching a movie where it's like, wow, there's a lot of potential, but they're not meeting it.
Well, I mean, I think, like, I mean, if you look at the original Wizard of Oz movie, you know, you do know that, you know, both witches are still alive. Well, one of them dies, but, like, I mean, at the beginning of Wizard of Oz, you know, there's 2 witches, like, allegedly, and then, like, one of them dies. So it's just like, you kind of know that, you know, okay, you know, at the end of this movie, 2 witches are both going to be alive, and there's going to be a wizard, you know, so I kind of, like, knew the outcome just because I had seen the old movie, you know, so I was just like, okay, so I just watched the movie for, like, the little you know, the Easter eggs, you know, that I liked, and just like little things that they put together to try and make like old Oz be the Oz that, you know, we saw in the first movie. So I was just kind of keeping my eye out for that, and I wasn't really keeping my eye out for surprises, you know, story-wise, just because I kind of know. But like, I didn't watch it for that. I watched it for like, okay, how did Oz here become Oz there? And I was just kind of keeping my eye out for little things that they might have done. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there.
That's what I mean of how
that's what the movie is about.
That's what I mean by how the finale is the most interesting part of the film, because of course by then you finally see like how Oz got behind the curtain.
Yeah.
But before that is where my biggest issues lie. Like the finale I really enjoyed. But everything before that was kind of just okay to me. I don't hate this film. I don't. Even though it's coming across like I do. I don't hate it. It's like, if I saw it on television, or if I even rented it, I probably would have said, yeah, it's a good film. But the fact that I saw it in the theaters, and with all the hype behind it, and the fact that it's a prequel to one of the greatest movies of all time, it's a letdown to me. Here's the last thing I have to say about it, is that this movie is clearly targeted towards family and kids. And
which it should be.
Yeah, as it should be. And in terms of that department, I could totally see how a family would love it, and I could see how kids will love it. So, you know, all my complaints aside, that's probably the most important thing. So if you want to go watch it with your family, or if you feel like a kid at heart still, or you're a kid watching this mature review, what I will say is this: my defenses have been up a little bit just because I came in here with, you know, issues prepared to talk about, so I wanted to get my points made.
Came in here with issues.
Yeah, I have issues.
Fucking
yeah,
issues.
I need therapy after this movie. But what I will say is this, is I like it more than I did yesterday. So it has grown on me since I've seen it. And from talking with you guys, like, there are points you guys have brought up that I actually like, yeah, you know, you have shed more light on the film for me. I think it's because the fact that it's a prequel to Wizard of the Oz, my expectations were a little bit higher than it should have been.
Knock it off.
No, I mean, it's
sorry.
It would be, no, that's the thing about movies of this kind, is that they are almost hard to go into on completely neutral, because you have like the fact that it's the prequel to a classic, and you have the fact that it's adapted from books, and then you have the fact that, you know, it's a family movie, but then you also have the fact that it's a big studio extravaganza. So like, there are lots of just peripheral things to think about.
I think that's why it's hard for me to just accept this film on its own merits as a fun, whimsical fantasy film, and not with more depth. I think that's why I'm having trouble just accepting it like with what it is currently, and not being more. Alright guys, thanks for checking out our video. Go ahead and tell us below your reasons to see or not to see Oz the Great and the Powerful. And if you want to check out my straight to the point review of Oz the Great and the Powerful, go ahead and click on the link right here.
And if you'd like to see more episodes of Reasons to See, more movie reviews, click this button right here.
And if you want to get notified every time a new review is out, which will probably be every weekend, go ahead and subscribe. By clicking on Rachel right there. Yep.
It's really mean.
Rachel's well, you know, click
I'm gonna
on
put it
her.
over your face.
It might hurt a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I want people to click on me.
Well, you're not there when they're clicking
Dude,
on you.
no, she is.
She is there. Let's not ruin the magic.
We don't want people to peer behind the curtain.
Oh my gosh, the video is almost running out.
See how
we're gonna die. Whoa! No,
are you okay?
yeah, no, it's fucking breaking the fourth wall.
I feel like I should have picked that one up. I'm sorry.
Did you not pick that up?
I didn't. Well, I didn't pick it up and play with it. I just kind of watched it happen.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan.
I don't know what the fuck is going on right now.